Well, this is Good Morning Uganda. Thank you so much for keeping it Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. I'm Olive Monica Najima, and I am, of course, with Chantal, Olive Akandinda, and Jerome Paul Sonko. We hope that this is a beautiful day for you, because this is the day that the Lord has made. I'm excited about November because the year is coming to an end. Jerome Paul is already laughing at me, but here is why I'm excited. I usually get excited about the month of November and, of course, the month of December, because first of all, Christmas, and of course, if you love Christmas, this is the time when you can actually start decorating your Christmas tree. You don't have to wait for December. Feel free to do that right now. And by the way, let me give you a tip. If you are into Christmas decoration, this right now is the best time for you to purchase decorations, to buy a Christmas tree, because the prices are still affordable. Now, if you wait for December, it is going to be a whole other different story. So why don't you run to Chikubo and these other places and buy yourself a tree right now? I love Christmas. So my spirit has already changed, and of course, I'm sure that Sonko too loves Christmas.
Yes, I do love
Sonko.
Christmas. I do love Christmas. I think it will be one of the most celebrated days once I am a father.
Oh, wow.
Because I'll have to make sure that I put it in line. No, it's just something I'm planning ahead for in case it does happen in the near future. But obviously, when you mention Christmas, it's the time when we get together as families, loved ones. You can even see some of the adverts that keep on airing during such times of Christmas. They normally talk about love, family, sharing, and all that. So it's that particular season that we're heading into. And also, not to forget, it is high time Ugandans also paid very, a key caution on on the thieves, simply because over the weekend my neighbors had a discussion that whenever it rains, it is very easy for thieves to start breaking into houses.
That's very true.
Because that is because most of us are all asleep, or none of us is paying attention to what is happening on ground. So in most cases, you get to realize that it's really something that we need to be very cautious about, especially when it comes to these times of the rains. But otherwise, good morning to all our dear viewers, wherever you are. We are here to make sure that we inspire you. And Monica, that's a very lovely, how should I put it?
Ensemble. Thank you, Sonko. Thank you so much.
The last for best. The best for last.
I know, right? Today he's all about catching me off guard. I love what he said about, Christmas and him being a father someday. He's being intentional, and I love that. Good morning.
I wanted to ask him, is he sure he's not yet a father?
Oh. Good morning, Chantal. I can see this morning you're in the mood for violence.
Any day is violence day. Good morning, Monica. I hope you are feeling well this morning.
I am.
And that's good to know, Sonko.
Well,
Sonko is very fine this morning.
You know, Sonko is very good when I want to bully some people. I think Sonko is a good candidate for bullying.
I've seen that a couple of times, by the way.
Me bullying you?
Yes.
But good morning, our dearest viewers. Thank you for joining us. It is a Tuesday morning, and I don't know if I'm excited for the week and the day, but let's see how the day goes. But I hope you are, and I hope you're keeping it warm every single moment. Also, just to remind you, if you're planning on using Mukwano side, my friend, think twice or move a little earlier than usual, because jam is still tight around there. The construction is still ongoing. I'm so mad. That's why I'm talking about it, because communication should have come in earlier. They should have put alternative routes that are directing people, but this information did not come in, and I've been mad since last week.
Actually, the advisory from Uganda Railways about the construction works that are ongoing around Wankoko in Bugolobi they said something to do with that we will advise on the alternate routes. And many people are like, how do you close a road without
a plan.
First,
Yes.
because people Monday morning people are going to use these roads. Imagine
Very
the
true.
fracas on the road because
No,
now
over
you
the
didn't know.
weekend, it
Over
was
the weekend,
terrible.
actually the traffic
You would
jam
sit
started
in
on Sunday.
traffic. Yes, on Sunday I sat in traffic from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m.
My goodness.
You understand? Now, that is really unfair to Ugandans. I don't understand why we don't plan accordingly, especially when we know how busy these roads are. You're not on on Kampala Masaka Highway that you know there's not too much traffic. Plus, either way, you
Highway doesn't even have to.
no, it has people moving across and stuff like that. But then when it comes to Kampala, effortlessly there is jam.
Yeah.
Now imagine
Yeah.
you create a reason for more jam. It's not nice. Communication should have been made.
And this year we've been having a very big issue with, with the roads and also with the traffic jam that is taking lots of hours for many people.
Yes.
Well,
people waste a lot of time there.
when it comes to the Central Business District, Simon Kasiate said that it is because Kampala Capital City Authority is working on different roads and different drainage systems. That's why we see what we see. And of course, it also explains the flooding when it rains in the city. But that being said, there is some good news coming in from the State House, Uganda. And this is from the President of this nation, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, regarding the tourists that were killed in Queen Elizabeth National Park, and of course their tour guide. And he says, I will read this, fellow Ugandans and especially the Bazukulu, greetings. This is to inform you that one of the killers of the tourists and their Ugandan driver by the name of Njovu has been arrested while injured. 3 other terrorists have been killed. Further, good success. The suspects in the killing of Joan Kagezi have finally been arrested. They are Chibuka John, Masajage John, Chiseka Dan, and Nasul Abdallah. They were riding on 2 motorcycles, and the president ended by congratulating ISO and CID on the good work, and he said they will soon be produced in court. That is Joan Kagezi's suspects. So from us at Good Morning Uganda, we add our voice to the president's voice that you well done, ISO and CID. Because the Kagezi case has been ongoing for quite some time, and if you don't remember who Joan Kagezi was, she was an assistant DPP that was murdered in Chwatule in the evening in her car. Her children were there, but they were not injured, but unfortunately for her, she was killed on the spot by these gentlemen. Should I even call them gentlemen? If you're a killer, do you even deserve the title of a gentleman? But anyway, she was killed by these men that have been produced and charged in Chwatule. So we commend the work of ISO upon this achievement. And of course, the man that was one of the suspects that killed the tourists in Queen Elizabeth National Park has also, one of them was killed. So commendable work there for our security agencies. This is good stuff. What do you think about that, Sanko?
I think when it comes to the tourism side, it is bringing back confidence among us, the foreign tourists. Even the domestic players now feel more confident that if we are to bring in tourists, especially those that are coming in from the foreign countries, then they will be very confident that the country is secure for them. And then furthermore, it clearly shows you that our CID and ISO are doing a very good job in regards to finding out and trying to look out for the assailants who normally tend to walk away or run free after killings that have continuously rocked Kampala, or let's say Uganda, in the past few years. So when you look at such situations, because with the Joan Kagezi case, even after years, if we have these assailants arrested, it clearly shows you that justice is prevailing, or justice is actually being served in this kind of situation. So it is a very good sign for us as a country. But as we're heading into the festive season, you get to realize that to the tourism sector, it is going to become also a very big sign of confidence for tourists who are coming in for holidays, who will now realize that maybe the government is already steady to check out any sort of insecurity. But following that, it's high time we also have to appreciate all the other government bodies that are into this kind of investigations that end up tracking down all these murderers and other silence in that regard.
Well, right about now, we delve into the local news stories, and later on, we will have the international news and the press review. And to start with, 4 suspects alleged to have murdered Joan Kagezi, a senior assistant DPP and head international crimes department in the DPP's office, have been charged at Nakawa Magistrates Court in Kampala. After 8 years, the 4 were arrested by joint security operatives. They appeared before Chief Magistrate Arias Kakozi. And moving on, the Parliamentary Committee on Rules, Discipline and Privileges has locked horns with the Mityana Municipality Member of Parliament, Francis Zake, over investigations into the allegations of misconduct and misbehavior. Led by his lawyer, Arias Lukwago, the accused questioned the manner in which they were summoned to the committee, poking holes on the intended investigations. In November last year, the Deputy Speaker Thomas Taiwa referred Member of Parliament Zake to the Rules Committee to investigate actions of misconduct and misbehavior after the accused exchanged words with the presiding officer during a plenary session. And in more news, police have handed over the bodies of the 2 murdered tourists in Queen Elizabeth National Park, Kasese District, to the UK forensic expert team. The police spokesperson Fred Enanga confirms the continued close cooperation between the UPDF and the teams in Britain on investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of these 2 tourists. And lastly, on the national scene, Uganda has stressed the need for developed countries to honor their pledge and commitment towards financing for climate change programs for adaptation and mitigation. The First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Community Affairs, Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, says time is now for developed countries to walk the talk of financing environmental restoration programs as well as empowering least developed countries to cope with climate change impacts. Right Honorable Kadaga made these remarks while officiating at the National COP28 Forum that was hosted at the Ministry of Water and Environment, attended by representatives of government ministries, departments and agencies of the national negotiators, civil society organizations and development partners. Well, that does it for the national news. Let's now delve into the international news stories.
On the international scene, Donald Trump repeatedly clashed with a judge and defended his family's business as he testified in the civil fraud trial in New York. During almost 4 hours on the witness stand, the former president disputed claims that he deceived banks and aired grievances with the case. The judge has already ruled that the Trump organization committed fraud, and this trial will determine the penalties. Prosecutors are seeking a $250 million fine and severe business restrictions. During his highly anticipated appearance at a Manhattan federal courthouse on Monday, Mr. Trump, 77, was asked about the value of various properties, including his Florida estate, Mar-a-Lago, Trump Tower in New York, and his golf course in Scotland. Moving on, Israeli bombardment across Gaza continues as the death toll in the besieged Palestinian territory reaches at least 10,022 since October 7th. At least 152 people have been killed in the occupied West Bank and more than 1,400 in Israel during the same period. The Palestinian representative at the UN, Riyad Mansour, has demanded accountability for crimes committed by Israel and blamed the US for blocking the UN ceasefire deal. The Red Crescent has appealed for urgent help, saying fuel at Gaza's Al-Quds hospital could run out in 48 hours, and Al-Oda hospital has warned a similar breakdown by Wednesday night. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has told reporters Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children as he renewed demands to reach the elusive ceasefire. Human Rights Watch has called for a weapons embargo on Israel and Palestinian armed groups. Coming back to Africa, the South African government has said it will recall all diplomats from Israel to signal its concern over the situation in Gaza. Kumbuzo, a minister in the president's office, said on Monday that all diplomatic staff in Tel Aviv would be called to return to Pretoria for consultations without providing further details. We are extremely concerned at the continued killing of children and innocent civilians in the Palestinian territories, and we believe the nature of response by Israel has become one of collective punishment, Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor told a later press conference. We felt it important that we do signal the concern of South Africa while continuing to call for a comprehensive cessation of hostilities. And speaking matters climate activists took hammers to a famous painting in London on Monday while calling for the UK to stop new oil and gas projects in the country. Just Stop Oil attacked Diego Velázquez's 17th century painting Rokeby Venus with safety hammers on Monday as tourists viewed the artwork hanging in the National Gallery. The pair of protesters, identified in the Just Stop Oil press release as Harrison Donnelly, 20, and Hanan, 22, took the hammers to the glass before shouting at museum patrons, claiming that millions will die due to new oil and gas leases. Women did not get the vote by voting. It is time for deeds, not words. It is time to just stop oil, said Hanan, who was not identified by her full name by the organization. Politics is failing us. Politics failed women in 1914. Donnelly, who was identified by his full name, said, well, that is it for the climate news and what is happening internationally.
Well, thank you, Chantal. Now, Jerome Paul Sonko takes us through this morning's press review.
And well, from our local dailies in Uganda, the New Vision highlights
How Kagezi murder was planned. There is more of that in the New Vision today. At the front pages, they take you back to who is Masenjege, Kagezi's suspected killer. That was a report that was released during the time of the findings. Then also read about safety, government issues staff rules on saunas and steam bath. Besides that, in regards to communication, UCC to block 330,000 SIM cards. As in her vision, Mugunga from lecture room to nurturing children. Read about her as city tycoon murder, scene of crime tampered with, according to what police has revealed. Now, the Daily Monitor highlights early this morning, teenagers not taking HIV drugs, report says. That is according to the Daily Monitor. Then opposition demand answers on Balalo and human rights amid parliament boycott. Read about the same in the Daily Monitor. Also, the Daily Monitor highlights Kagezi murder suspects remanded to Luzira, a pictorial of the 4 suspects that were remanded to Luzira. Then in the other news, director arrested over defiling pupils. The director who was arrested over defiling pupils faints in cells. Then innovators showcase pieces at the Science Week. It is still ongoing, by the way. Then why many saunas are a ticking time bomb. There is more of that report in the Daily Monitor. Then in the other news, no conjugal rights on eve of Busoga royal wedding. Well, Interesting, isn't it? That's it for our local dailies this morning, but later on we shall be looking at the other stories making headlines across the East African region.
The last story. Interesting. Interesting story and interesting times. Well, you're still watching Good Morning Uganda, and we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will be speaking matters saunas. If you love going to the sauna, how safe is that for you? There is a new report by the National Building Review Board, and we will be looking into that and much more when we come back. But for now, we will leave you with John Legend with Here Is God. Well, this is Good Morning Uganda. Thank you so much for keeping it Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. I'm Olive Monica Najima, and I am, of course, with Chantal, Olive Akandinda, and Jerome Paul Sonko. We hope that this is a beautiful day for you, because this is the day that the Lord has made. I'm excited about November because the year is coming to an end. Jerome Paul is already laughing at me, but here is why I'm excited. I usually get excited about the month of November and, of course, the month of December, because first of all, Christmas, and of course, if you love Christmas, this is the time when you can actually start decorating your Christmas tree. You don't have to wait for December. Feel free to do that right now. And by the way, let me give you a tip. If you are into Christmas decoration, this right now is the best time for you to purchase decorations, to buy a Christmas tree, because the prices are still affordable. Now, if you wait for December, it is going to be a whole other different story. So why don't you run to Chikubo and these other places and buy yourself a tree right now? I love Christmas. So my spirit has already changed, and of course, I'm sure that Sonko too loves Christmas.
Yes, I do love
Sonko.
Christmas. I do love Christmas. I think it will be one of the most celebrated days once I am a father.
Oh, wow.
Because I'll have to make sure that I put it
that
in line. No, it's just something I'm planning ahead for in case it does happen in the near future. But obviously, when you mention Christmas, it's the time when we get together as families, loved ones. You can even see some of the adverts that keep on airing during such times of Christmas. They normally talk about love, family, sharing, and all that. So it's that particular season that we're heading into. And also, not to forget, it is high time Ugandans also paid very, a key caution on on the thieves, simply because over the weekend my neighbors had a discussion that whenever it rains, it is very easy for thieves to start breaking into houses.
That's very true.
Because that is because most of us are all asleep, or none of us is paying attention to what is happening on ground. So in most cases, you get to realize that it's really something that we need to be very cautious about, especially when it comes to these times of the rains. But otherwise, good morning to all our dear viewers, wherever you are. We are here to make sure that we inspire you. And Monica, that's a very lovely, how should I put it?
Ensemble. Thank you, Sonko. Thank you so much. I know, right? Today he's all about catching me off guard. I love what he said about, Christmas and him being a father someday. He's being intentional, and I love that. Good morning.
Ask him, is he sure he's not yet a father?
Oh. Good morning, Chantal. I can see this morning you're in the mood for violence.
Any day is violence day. Good morning, Monica. I hope you are feeling well this morning.
I am.
And oh, that's good to know, Sonko.
Well,
Sonko is very fine this morning.
You know, Sonko is very good when I want to bully some people. I think Sonko is a good candidate for bullying.
I've seen that a couple of times, by the way.
Me bullying you?
Yes.
But good morning, our dearest viewers. Thank you for joining us. It is a Tuesday morning, and I don't know if I'm excited for the week and the day, but let's see how the day goes. But I hope you are, and I hope you're keeping it warm every single moment. Also, just to remind you, if you're planning on using Mukwano side, my friend, think twice or move a little earlier than usual because jam is still around.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
African Airline Association, in conjunction with Uganda Airlines, presents the 55th AFRA Annual General Assembly between the 19th and 21st November 2023 at Speak Resort Hotel, Munyonyo, in the heart of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. In attendance will be 500 high-profile African and global aviation leaders, 40 airline CEOs making strides to transform aviation for development. The 55th AFRA AGA is proudly powered by
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwiva eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wanu ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira kusani fish farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $4 okuva mu operation werese creation era okuba yongerezaako emmere yatuweebwa okuva Ugachik Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano bebaza gavumenti yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga efeeri y'Abannayuganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, Go TV Channel 371, Star Times Channel 201, Zuku TV Channel 20, and Azam TV Channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda, and of course on the national broadcaster, that is Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, here with Chantal Olive Akaniga and Jerome Paul Sonko. Now, like I said earlier, if you're just joining us, we are going to be speaking matters safety of saunas and steam baths. Now, I know many Ugandans like to decompress by going to a sauna or even a steam bath, but how safe is that sauna for you? Now, according to a new study carried out by the National Building Review Board, it revealed that 90% of saunas in Uganda pose a risk to human life because of their likeliness of exploding at any time. Now, we have had incidents where a sauna exploded. One was in Nalia in 2019, and the people that were there escaped with injuries, but that was not the case for another explosion that happened in Wakiso and claimed 2 lives. So, according to this review, it shows that many saunas are actually not erected using engineering standards and principles, and that many of the people that erect these saunas actually are not qualified to do so. They are rather learn on the job. So I want to look more into the findings by the National Building Review Board on saunas and steam baths, and of course we will look at the recommendations. But we would like for you to be part of this conversation and tell us what you think should be done to ensure safety of saunas for users in the country. And of course, I will share the WhatsApp number later on. But for now, we'd like to delve into the findings by the National Building Review Board. I'm joined by Jerome Paul and Chantal, and I'll go to Jerome Paul first.
Yes, you've actually broken down some of the incidents where Ugandans lost their lives for using these health clubs that are not well regulated or followed up. And when you look at some of the findings from the Uganda, that is from the National Building Review Board, a survey that was carried out, 21 saunas or health clubs across the country, it was actually found that the majority of them, or the 21, were only using firewood to generate heat. So that all were actually using firewood to generate heat, which actually was posing a very huge threat to the lives of those who get into them. And also, the other finding is that they also lacked, this is still with the survey, they also lacked qualified personnel to monitor and follow up on the regulation that were given out, or let's say the qualified personnel to operate in these saunas. And we can all agree at times when people are going in to seek for such jobs, at times they will actually ask you if you've for example, if it's firewood, if you know how to put the firewood and light up the fire in most cases. So this is something that puts many Ugandans at risk. So when you look at the other situation as well, there is also a risk assessment study which was also concluded that for every 10 health clubs or saunas, 9 were potentially explosive. So the chances of us having more stories running about saunas exploding are quite many, according to the findings. And also the National Building Review Board issued guidelines for that. That will be something that we shall be going into. But there is also something about the fact that these saunas are using fire to generate heat. but they lack professionals who know how to follow up and check out on whether it is the right temperatures and all that. And there's also something that is actually being looked at, is that some of the saunas also lack monitoring. Let's say they lack monitoring machines or monitors to monitor the temperature.
Temperature monitors.
Yeah, temperature monitors to measure whether the sauna is overheating or not, and to see whether it is the right temperatures for any person to get into. So those are some of the key things or the key findings within this survey or this report that is putting many of these health clubs or saunas at high risk of exploding, and also putting a high risk on those who go into these saunas, because I believe every weekend, not even weekends, Ugandans have actually made it a very serious tendency of going into these health clubs, health clubs. And once we were even in COVID-19, it became a new normal. I even remember during such times, authorities, police was going on to check out to see if Ugandans were already in there, and they were arresting quite a number of Ugandans who are in the same. And there are also other related incidents that happen in saunas that we would not want to delve into. But when it comes to the health perspective, temperature monitors, use of firewood, using non-qualified personnel are some of the key issues affecting those in the line of saunas and those operating these health clubs.
Actually, to add on what you've just said, the National Building Review Board also noted that there was lack of pressure controls. So when let's say the water gets heated up, there is no valve to release excess pressure, and because of this, you find that, for instance, the case in Nalia, that's what happened, and because of that, there was an explosion that ended up giving people third-degree burns. But also, there is, like he said, lack of pressure temperature monitors, but also absence of timers. So people in the sauna don't even know how much pressure, how much heat is supposed to be there at a given time.
Not all, but the majority.
So that they're able to
of
maybe
what has been.
exit when the heat gets
or even to control, even to control
because,
it.
The personnel that are put in place to monitor are not qualified for such spaces.
Okay, and of course they also mentioned poor air supply and ventilation in saunas and
if
steam
you have
baths.
noticed, if you've been, if you've gone for steam or sauna, you've realized that it's literally a closed room. There is no room for escape. Like, heat is not going to escape to anywhere, and it is believed that those places have to be hot. The more the heat, the better. You will agree with me. The more the heat, the better.
I know. I felt. I'm like, the hell is there. I'm not gonna look for it on earth because the places are way too hot. But I thought that that's the standard. So does that mean that we have all been sold a lie?
It's supposed to be regulated heat. Much as you're getting in there and you're looking for, the heat that gives the steam, depending on whether you're going inside the steam bath or the sauna. For steam, the more the heat, the more the steam, and that is why people will always, those who add water will add water and whatever else that needs to be added. The unfortunate bit is that people are not told that up to a certain point, this level of heat is not supposed to be can I say consumed by your body or taken in by your body. Now that's the part that we did not know. So for most people, they believed the more the heat, the better for you who is in there.
Actually, when you look at the best temperature for sauna, according to some of the health findings, is between 150 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit.
But
so
now, in one of the cases where we had incidents of death and third-degree burns, the temperature was found at over 300%.
So which takes us to the perception that Chantal was mentioning, that
yes,
to us it is the
more the heat,
the better. So you
Someone
feel if it's really hot.
Someone will even end up be like, it's not hot enough. Then they'll add, for those places where you're able to add, say, water in the sauna to increase the heat, they'll add the water to increase the heat in the environment, not knowing that they're doing more harm than good.
Oh, wow. Anyway, we would like for you to be a part of this conversation, and we are asking you to share your views on the report that many saunas in the country are unsafe for use. Share your views on the report by the National Building Committee. Share your views on the report by the National Building Review Board that many saunas, they say 9 out of 10 saunas in this country are a ticking time bomb, that they are a danger to human life, that they may actually explode at any given moment. So we would like to know, what do you think about this, and what suggestions do you have going forward? Now, we have seen some of the findings by the National Building Review Board, and would like to know, yes, you found a problem, so what solutions or recommendations have they given?
Well, some guidelines were put in place, and these guidelines are meant to help especially the sauna owners. And one of the guidelines required by the board is that health clubs must have pressure relief, or what we call safety valves, that release excess pressure beyond the designed system value. Then also, as an owner of that place, you ought to have a temperature gauge that must be installed in the steam room to monitor the temperature and also prevent overheating. There is also supposed to be a visible clock or timer providing unrestricted fresh air for combustion as well, is the other guideline. Now, the part of a visible clock or timer, the truth is you're not supposed to be in there for too long in one go. You're supposed to go in, get out, go back, because even your body itself is not supposed to be consuming all that heat at a go. And these are things I think also should be told to whoever. There should be guidelines, in my own opinion, that should be given to even the sauna users, as much as even the other personnel have to be trained. But yes, those are some of the guidelines that were put in place. Also, health club owners who use firewood to generate heat for especially the saunas have been encouraged to make sure that they engage professionals who know how to make their clients safe and ensure routine maintenance of these installations. So if you are still in the area where they're using firewood, please make sure, this is a guideline, that one, your people are monitoring. They also know how to operate the saunas that use firewood, so that you make sure that your people are safe. And please, continuous maintenance is encouraged on the same.
Well, interesting. Actually, on the closing of the valve in the steam piping for pressure buildup, the National Building Review Board also recommended that do not install any stop valves in the steam pipes. The steam can never be obstructed, otherwise the pressure can build up to catastrophic levels. So what this means is that some saunas are actually trying to obstruct the steam. Of course, under the pretext that the hotter, the better, yes. You need to keep all in. And it takes us back to what the Building Review Board said, that most of these saunas are not constructed using engineering principles. They do not hire people that are qualified personnel. They do not, exactly. And like Sonko said, most of these people learn on the job. Oh, so you constructed a steam bath at so and so's place, come and do the same for me. But now it begs for the question, where is the standards body on this? Has the Uganda National Bureau of Standards done anything to react, especially to the deaths that we had, the explosions that we had, because this business is still thriving in this country?
Well, following the explosion in Entebbe, is it in Entebbe?
In Nalia and Wakiso.
No, the latest of Wakiso 2021. The Uganda National Bureau of Standards came out with new regulations. And some of the regulations are also targeting the health of the customers, or if I'm to put it in that way, the customers who normally use these health clubs or saunas in context here, whereby they talked about the towels being used. They did talk about how clean the environment is at times.
Oh, should be.
You know, because there is a lot of sweat that normally goes in there. And when they came out with the findings, they also came out to reveal that it is so better if the saunas have floors and ceilings that have smooth and are impervious for easy disinfection. That once people are done using it, then the team that is doing the disinfection comes in to clear the room. That is in relation to health first. And I highly doubt if the majority of the saunas are following these guidelines as well. Then also, they came out and revealed that sharp objects like nails and broken glasses are not supposed to be accepted on the walls in any way. And also, they are supposed to be using smooth, impervious materials. They are not supposed to be using smooth materials, and cautions are not supposed to be used in saunas because we do have some people who actually go in with cushions to sit on. So these are some of the findings that UNBS did find at the time, and they came out with new guidelines. So this was a way of preventing some of these occurrences, that in case of any explosion, what led to the explosions? Because when you look at some of these can attract fires.
They are also catalysts.
Catalysts for the cell.
Like the cushions.
Yes. And they also put up that doors are required to have two handles, one inside and one outside, whereby in case someone inside isn't feeling well, or they feel the heat is too much, they can easily move out.
Right.
So and in case of a fire?
In case of a fire, you can easily run out. Okay. You can easily open and run out. Because remember, once you're inside, it is dark in most cases. Some people prefer lights off, and it becomes really dark. So imagine if an explosion occurs, God forbid. How do you run out? And if at all the sauna, for example, only has one entrance, and because most of them do have one entrance, by the way. So in case it only has one handle, and the person who is supposed to actually open is the one who is outside. So it becomes really hard in terms of evacuation. So these are some of the key regulations that UNB has put up. They also put up regulations in relation to observing electrical safety and repairing and maintenance, which should be done by registered electricians. Again, UNBS emphasizes registered electricians, whereby you're not supposed to be just using anyone simply because a staff member is good at something. And when you're going, if you're to visit some of these health clubs, you realize that the person who is actually operating in the gym, or let's say someone who is operating in the hotel, or where they are, may be the same person who is helping out in the saunas. So it's a kind of situation where we do not have specialized people for a given job or assignment at a time, which becomes very difficult. So that is where we have qualified people who are only learning on job. So in simple terms, they don't know the basics of some of these things. Because when it comes to, monitoring temperature, when it comes to issues like this, they are a bit more technical, and they would need someone who has studied about them, or someone who has actually done this for quite some time professionally. And these are some of the things UNBS was putting out there for anyone setting up a sauna, or for anyone to get a license from UNBS that the sauna or this particular steam bath or the health clubs are meeting the required standards from UNBS.
Actually, in addition to that, the standards body also noted that there would be calibration records for thermometers, temperature and pressure gauges. But this sounds all good.
Still adding on to that. There would be also monthly or bi-monthly reports, especially on risk assessment, and I think that is very important because it includes life. Then general situation, then fire safety plans by these places. Talk about inspection records for hygiene and clients' consultation records. But also it was mentioned that there should be signage and information available for the clients, especially those who have health conditions. Sometimes someone might go not thinking their condition is, they might go thinking their condition is fine to use the sauna when they're not supposed to be using it. So there should be such information provided by the owner of the place to the client, so that we avoid any eventualities of what could happen inside there.
Okay, but now all of this, I understand this report came out around 2021 by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. This is 2023, and the most recent study that is of this week, released this week by the National Building Review Board, still says that 90% of saunas and steam baths in the country are a ticking time bomb. Now, given that the standards body came out with this beautiful draft of the guidelines that are supposed to be followed, do we know if actually someone is following up to ensure that there is implementation?
No. Why am I saying no is what happens after the findings is that you get to realize that when, for example, UNBS goes on to do a survey and they find out that this particular sauna isn't meeting standards, it is very easy for that sauna to close down that very day and then reopen tomorrow. Because the administration will convince the Uganda National Bureau of Standards that, that they are going to work on the same. And sadly, in most of the circumstances, UNBS tends not to do a further follow-up of the same. Because if you're to, let's say, close down these saunas, especially those you've found having no standards, before they even explode, you have to first of all close them down for maybe a given period of time until they start working on the same. Until they adopt to the same. And you know, in our kind of situation in Uganda, you also need to do a further follow-up. That in case you've, let's say you've done the survey today, return after maybe 3 weeks and see if they've worked upon the same.
It's actually not just a case of Uganda. Every country, of course, they have standards bodies, they have departments that are reviewing ABCD, and this is supposed to be done on maybe, there has to be a plan of, okay, which area are we visiting, what are we checking on to ensure that people follow the given guidelines. It's the same thing with the school fires that are ongoing. Unfortunately, in Masaka, more than 8 children died because of the fire at Kasana Primary School. And there have been guidelines given, but no one goes back
to check and see whether these guidelines are being followed.
Exactly.
And this is where we're actually facing a big challenge. And you see, when you look at the National Building Review Board saying 90% of these particular saunas are actually a ticking bomb or a ticking time bomb, the question is, why are we having the 90% still operating? Still leaves a bigger question there to answer. Because they are still operating, which shows we are okay with the fact that they're a ticking bomb. So it's like we are waiting to be more reactionary once they explode. Then we shall come out and say, well, now this is what we are going to do, or we then close the premises of the person. Instead of helping the other person to work on the key findings that you have. Because coming out with such a good report, good regulations, and then the place is still operating under the findings that they've actually failed to implement, then it's becoming a big issue. Because if we have 90%, then it means at this particular time, they were not supposed to be open. But then you'll find them operating, having quite a number of customers on each day that passes by. So it's a very big question there.
Or maybe we could be pelting stones to at the wrong person, here being the National Building Review Board. It has done its job, done a survey, and has findings. Now the standards body has to come in and implement and see how to move, you know, going forward. Do we close? But also, who gives the permits for these saunas?
As the National Building Review Board, you're reviewing the setups, the establishments.
And now they have given you,
yes, you've given us
a finding.
The question is, what happened at the first start when they were setting this up?
That's the question I had, because now you're talking about planning, urban planning.
Because
urban planning, and someone already set up this. So the issue is...
Lady and gentlemen,
yes, sure.
They say that most of these people did not apply, the engineering principles. And that could be that these people did not even go ahead to get the licenses that they were supposed to have before starting operation.
Then here,
maybe that's where the problem is.
Which means even the engineering bodies of different town councils or different local governments are also in question here. Because you have to do the survey before any kind of building comes up.
And these are public spaces.
These are public
They're
spaces,
not being operated, like in a
and
cave.
we even have government officials who go in these spaces. So it's a public space for everybody. If at all you can afford these services, you can go in, and they're not that expensive, by the way. So you can easily see where the problem is. And if we are to narrow it down or zero it down to only, let's say that if the National Building Review Board did its part, then let UNBS do its part. Now we are only specializing, then that means after UNBS will also go and say, I'm done doing this, let the other body also follow up.
Probably
So
they could work, it could be collective responsibility where everyone has a play
But we are having a very big challenge where bodies in the country never work.
Rarely work together.
It's more like everybody wants to come out to show who has more of the power than the rest.
And who is performing better than the other.
Exactly. So this is where the issue also comes in. The balance of power about who is having the better report, who is having the better survey, who is coming up with with the trending,
more solutions.
So in a nutshell, what I'm hearing is that everyone that is involved is being reactionary. So because one body released the report, then the other one is going to react by also giving
we
guidelines.
actually sit here. Let's wait in a week's time to see what the board will give us next week.
The standards body.
Not even the standards body. The National
Building Review Board.
For
it has given recommendations, findings and recommendations.
It is true.
But now someone
But
has to also
that,
take the mantle.
We need to see if after they've actually given us a report and the recommendation,
what follows after that?
Are they following up?
Are they the ones, this is the question I'm asking, are they the ones that are supposed to follow up and ensure
they have to follow
that...
up on their regulations
yes,
and what
everyone
they've
has a
actually
role
put
to
out.
play on it.
Okay.
In this case, I'm not going to just wake up in the morning and do a problem statement and I leave it there. I have to make sure that I have driven my point home. What's the use of me telling you, listen, your building is not up to standard, and then I don't do anything about it?
And then you tell me, do this and this, and then you're done.
You've given me guidelines, but the guidelines you're giving me in this case are guidelines for when I construct the new one.
And the chances are I may fail to do it, or I may deliberately.
Exactly. So what is the review board putting in place to make sure that whoever is constructing, whoever has constructed, now can go back and redo or do or add what needs to be added? That's the part where we now need to look at what is being done.
So basically we are looking at implementation, and I will still throw the question back to you. How best can the National Building Review Board and even the Uganda National Bureau of Standards ensure that there is a proper implementation of guidelines given to saunas and steam bath owners?
Let's get these things off the paper.
Okay.
Let's implement them. In this case,
how best can they implement?
UNBS came out and gave all these guidelines, very beautiful guidelines, by the way. If I read them and I was coming into the country and I'm not Ugandan, I'd be like, okay, the Standards Bureau is doing really well. These are very good regulations. These are very good insights being put in place. But are they really being put in place? No. How often do they go to check these places? If the review board has given guidelines on whoever is constructing, this is the standard, because we understand that UNBS may not know the standards of every single thing that is being done, but working hand in hand with different bodies, they would know. But when you're constructing a sauna, you're supposed to have this. Then when they come to check, they check for that. Now that's the part where working hand in hand comes in place. So in this case, have they been doing the supervisions? Have they been doing the checks?
So you're suggesting that they do supervision and
the checks, yes, and the reports, everything. It's more like how I could come to this building and I'm checking, do you have fire extinguishers? Are they actually functional? Yeah. Do you have emergency exit routes? And I'm double checking to see if they are in place, if they are working. Now that's the part that we are lacking at a particular point.
And even speaking of making sure that we create swift, or let's say swift follow-ups, I think it is even the time the health ministry also jumps on board, because these are health clubs. And there are further recommendations at times from health practitioners, recommending people to go and visit, or at least going to these health clubs.
Actually, I would like for us to even have a little bit of an insight into the pros and cons of using saunas. But before we do that, I'd like to invite you to join this conversation, and we are asking you to share your opinions on the report indicating that a number of saunas in the country are not safe for use. It is said that 90% of saunas that we have in the country are at the risk of explosion. So we'd like to know, what suggestions do you have, or what questions do you have? You can reach us on WhatsApp number 0709602592, and on the X app the hashtag is UBCGMU. Again, the WhatsApp number is 0709602592, and we are asking you to share your views on the report indicating that a number of saunas in the country are not safe for use. Now, you were touching on something about
benefits.
health, but would yes, give us a preview of the health benefits of going to a sauna, because we may be here making so much noise when they're not even important.
There's weight loss.
Oh, really?
There is weight loss.
Is that researched and proven to
yes,
be true?
there is weight loss. There's,
Fat burning.
There is a word that normally plays me.
Forgive me about
detoxification.
First, wait. Let's first go back a bit.
Yes, I agree.
Let's first go back a bit
No, the
on
weight
the weight
loss.
loss, because the people I've seen in saunas.
You know why they go there?
No. Wait.
You know why?
No.
Because,
First of all, the stomachs are those ends.
No.
Which
besides
weight
that,
are they
no,
losing?
Listen, when you go to some hotels that have these steam bath and saunas close by, they normally have a gym next. So after going through the gym, some after leaving gym go to the steam bath, others go to sauna. It is actually advisable at times. So the weight loss it's not the major priority, but it's among the health benefits in there. Then there's improved immune function. There's stress management according to the health practitioners. There's also improved sleep. I think the health practitioners will ideally help us with that, with the improved sleep.
The look on Olive's face.
I know. Then there's increased blood circulation for those who actually go into there, into these health clubs and all the same, and increased metabolism as well. So when you look at some of these are some of the health benefits. I think the same reason as to why even during COVID-19, most of the Ugandans were rushing into the health clubs.
These health clubs now, when you get to a health club that has people who are deliberate, you realize that it's not just the wet heat that you're going to be exposed to. They're going to add essential oils, and these essential oils are meant to provide health benefits to people's bodies. So in this case, for example, you enter and they're using rosemary oil. I'm just giving an example. This essential oil is very beneficial for someone's health. So people who walk in with colds, people who walk in with maybe sinuses, people who walk in with how can I put it? Okay, yes, sinuses, the different colds, the flu and cough that you could be having, you realize that you come out with a little bit of relief, a bit of relief. That is why even during COVID, you heard about people would steam using their buckets and stuff like that. So in this case, you're also looking at opening the pores of the body. And now for the dry heat, when you are sweating, your body is releasing toxins. We all do know that one of the ways the body cleanses is through releasing toxins from the body. And that is that is why you're looking at these steam and sauna places thriving in the market. So those are some of the health benefits that come. But also a little bit of history on how these things came about.
Okay.
It all started in those countries that have winter. So they would dig a hole and then heat stones, as in excessive heat, then keep pouring water on the stones. So the more the stones released heat, the more people who would be in that pit would feel warm during winter season.
That was before the innovation of
that was
heaters.
the origin. Yes, that was the
Electronic
origin.
heaters. Okay.
But you see, even if there was the heaters and the humidifiers that we have in the rooms, that was before. So that was the origin of the steam and sauna. So
You wonder how
I would
we're
like
getting
to
into that
actually add
business.
to Sonko's voice when he said that going to the sauna helps to improve sleep.
Yes, it
And
does.
it is said that heat will raise our body temperature when in the sauna. And afterwards, the body temperature will cool and drop which then signals to the body to produce the hormone melatonin, and melatonin is a key component to getting better sleep.
But
So-
they also have a disadvantage. Just a
Okay,
minute.
okay.
Some disadvantages include dehydration and low blood pressure. And then there is also something here which is it can lead to core body temperature, which is later on increased by medical conditions or drinking alcohol. I think now it goes back to the question you're saying, that the people you see in saunas, most of them are going in there, but at the same time drinking too much of alcohol.
When they
too
step
much
out of
beer.
the sauna, they are drinking
They are
alcohol,
drinking. So
and then
it-
they are
it's
going
more like
back.
you're in a different cycle.
Let me give you a little bit, not everyone, but a little bit of what the cycle is like. People go out on Friday night, drink the alcohol. Saturday, they're going to go in the afternoon, go for sauna and steam. Oh my God, I drank too much, blah, blah, blah. Then after that, they're feeling refreshed. Instead of going home to relax or do something different, you will find them in the bar. They look fresh and everything, but back to the same things they're taking out of the body.
So basically, the users are not following the right.
Exactly. And also that takes me back to what I said earlier. Do we have enough information as the users on how to use? That is why they're
And
saying...
the benefits,
and the
because some of the
yes.
benefits people think about could be wrong.
Could be wrong. Also, if I have a certain illness, am I sure that I'm supposed to be in there? Some do not know. And that is why you've had people faint from there. You've had people, you've had people being taken out and they're telling you they almost died from in there because they didn't know that their condition is not supposed to be, to be exposed to that kind of heat. So this information needs to be out there as well when it comes to the well-being of your clients, but also the well-being of Ugandans in general.
Well, I have a few views coming through. Joel, watching from Ginger, says, let specialists teach people on radio and TVs to enable them to know the right degrees to use in saunas. And Jasper says hi. And Afande says, Afande Ampe Lawrence from Uganda says government should appoint technical personnel, and close supervision by government technical officials should be irregular to maintain the right standards when it comes to saunas and steam baths. And this one says, good morning. This is Elias, and he says, good morning. Inspection will be made and news captured, but final action will not be shown since officers finish up in main offices where envelopes are shared. Practical safety has been left in books. Visit many of the related places, he means saunas, and of course other related places. He says factories, safety protective equipments and measures are put in place on visiting date of officers, then after taken back to the store. And he says that there are many factories that have boilers, generators with safety valves that are not serviced and not even calibrated. Thank you so much, Elias, and that's concerning. And this one, Zedman from Bale, says, hello UBC, thanks for the conversation. Most businessmen in Uganda are after accumulating money and they do not put into consideration for their client's life. The fact is most guidelines are put in place to follow, but both businessmen and their clients don't follow them. It is now the clients to take responsibility for their lives. And from Zedman, that's where we will end this conversation. If you go to a sauna, you need to ask a few questions if they have some of these measures put in place, because at the end of the day, you alone are the keeper of your life. So you need to look out for yourself, but of course also look out for others. And for the regulatory bodies, they need to take these guidelines off the paper and make sure that they are implemented. This is Good Morning Uganda, and I'm Olive Monica Najima.
Pick of the day on UBC. was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
African Airline Association, in conjunction with Uganda Airlines, presents the 55th AFRA Annual General Assembly between the 19th and 21st November 2023 at Speak Resort Hotel, Munyonyo, in the heart of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. In attendance will be 500 high-profile African and global aviation leaders, 40 airline CEOs making strides to transform aviation for development. The 55th AFRA AGA is proudly powered by
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwiva eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wanu ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira ku Sun Fish Farm ebwikwe inside day dindeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $4 okuva mu operation Werese Creation era okuba yongereza ku emmere yatuweebwa okuva Ugachik Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga efeeri y'Abannayuganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
This week is so live and about when it comes to the world of business, I tell you. As we started off yesterday, Monday, there was a lot of traffic. It made it very difficult for some business people to make money, especially those in transportation. But hey, tell you what, there are lots of opportunities for you. And as I remind all the viewers out there, especially those in Eastern Uganda, the opportunities for you to get some good money are kicking off this Thursday. That is for the people in Jinja. You can easily make money. Those in accommodation, those who actually, selling eateries around. Most of the tourists who are coming into the country will definitely want to try out on the Rolex. Well, it will be time for many to make some good money. Those in transportation as well, taking people to Jinja for that festival. So it's a festival week as well, but the business community does not rest. And this is the reason as to why I'm here to give you more business updates and to check out what is making headlines in the world of business on the local scene. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. It's the GMU Business Update of the morning. First, the Uganda Revenue Authority has issued new guidelines for the rice importers in the country. Not only for the rice that is coming in from Kenya, rather from Tanzania, but also those who get rice from Pakistan and the other countries, name it. On October 31st, more than 100 trucks of rice were intercepted at the customs office in Mutukula town, that is at the border of Uganda and Tanzania. After the Uganda Revenue Authority officials claimed that the rice was being imported from Pakistan, not Tanzania, as revealed. Of course, we do have some rice that comes in from Tanzania. I think you've had times whereby people would say Super Tanzania is pretty much good rice for consumption. But the Uganda Revenue Authority has issued new guidelines for all rice importers using the Mutukula border that is in Chotera district. They have actually come out to reveal that this is because the rice that the importers claim is coming from Tanzania is rather being imported from Pakistan. Now, to avoid such scenarios, URA officials will now pick samples from all rice trucks entering Uganda through Mutukula border for laboratory analysis to establish the country of origin in order to weigh how much an importer is supposed to pay in relation to the taxes that are supposed to be levied. Now, rice with confirming results or that has passed the test shall be allowed to proceed after payment of withholding tax. Then rice with non-confirming results or failed the test will be required to pay import duty and withholding tax. So when you look at the rice that comes in from Tanzania, it is only supposed to be paying withholding tax. Now, once the rice is actually coming in from Pakistan, they're supposed to be paying import duty and withholding tax. So as also URA wants all rice trucks to have a certificate of origin from Tanzanian farmers if anyone is actually importing the rice from Tanzania. So you can easily see the tough guidelines that are coming in. And they are supposed to also carry an export permit from Tanzanian Bureau of Standards in addition to all other documents. So a breakdown again. So if you're an importer, according to the Uganda Revenue Authority, you are supposed to have a certificate of origin from Tanzanian farmers if you're importing the rice from Tanzania. Not only that, you're supposed to be having an export permit from the Tanzania Bureau of Standards in addition to all other documents attached. So the new guidelines were issued following a meeting between URA officials and the leaders of long-distance truck drivers and rice traders. So this is going to all the dealers in imported rice. You really need to focus on those guidelines as well so that you do not face the penalties with the URA. Now, speaking more business, let's look at the demolition of curio shops at the source of the Nile site in Jinja that have displaced the business community in the area. As the redevelopment of the source of the Nile is set ongoing. Although the redevelopment of the site is supported by the vendors, their concern is to rush to demolish and the lack of sensitization by government before this happened, because the government plans to develop the source of the Nile into an international standard tourism item or site or product, name it. And of course, this will include the construction of a modern pier, a docking place, parking yard, curio shops, visitors information, and visitors center, among others, to put it up to the standard of a tourist site as the source of the Nile. Now, currently there are forceful demolitions at the proposed site, as Kenneth Laibi is one of the first developers of this site, and you can easily see some of the situations that occur in such circumstances. So some of the vendors believe the government would ideally sensitize them further on how they're going to carry on with their business after being, set away from the site. And of course, demolishing business property just like that is leading to losses, which some of them feel is quite unfair to them. But of course, the government intends to redevelop the source of the Nile. So when you look at it, as we are also heading into the Nyege Nyege Festival, these are some of the tour sites that attract quite a number of tourists that come in for the festival. Now, summing up with our business update this morning, let's look at the forex market to check out how the currencies were faring by close of business Monday evening. Now, the US dollar was buying at 3,777.25 shillings while selling at 3,787.25 shillings. By midday, it was buying at 3,762.04 while selling at 3,772.25. The US dollar was buying at 3,757.17 while selling at 3,767.17. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,655.13 while selling at 4,667.52. The euro was buying at 4,040.57 while selling at 4,035.20. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 24.84 shillings while selling at 24.91 shillings. The Tanzanian shilling, on the other hand, was buying at 1.50 shillings while selling at 1.5 shillings as well. Then the South African rand was buying at 206.01 shillings while selling at 206.56 shillings. Well, now, I didn't mention earlier on in the show that we shall be revisiting the local dailies as well as looking at what is making headlines across the East African region. Our focus now turns to the New Vision to check out what is making way up on the headlines. How Kagezi murder was planned is the top story on the New Vision's front page. As the other news, safety, government issues tough rules on saunas, steam bath as well. Then communication, UCC to block 330,000 SIM cards that are not meeting the registration standards. And then Her Vision, Mugunga from lecture room to nurturing children. Read about the same in the New Vision. Now, City Tycoon murder, scene of crime tampered with, says the police. Then there's a pictorial of the Joan Kagezi murder assailants that were put before court yesterday. Now, the Daily Monitor highlights teenagers not taking HIV drugs, report says. And in accordance to the same report, there was also a key finding that Mbarara district is leading in the surging cases of HIV, which is pretty much amongst the youth, teenagers, and the elderly. So as we speak of the same, opposition demand answers on Balalo human rights amid parliament boycott. That is still with the Daily Monitor. Now, Kagezi murder suspects remanded to Luzira, a pictorial of the suspects. Now, why many saunas are a ticking time bomb? Daily Monitor gives you details. No conjugal rights on eve of Busoga royal wedding. More of the same report in the Daily Monitor. As in the other news, director arrested over defiling pupils, faints in cells as innovators showcase pieces at the Science Week. It is this week, and you can definitely be part of the same Kololo ceremonial grounds. Now, lastly, from the press review this morning, the Daily Nation in Kenya, we're crossing the borders now as 300 Kenyan shillings a litre for petrol on the cards. Economy, the neighboring Tanzania has reduced fuel prices for November. Remember, President Museveni has been having conversations and discussions about the same with the president in Kenya and that in Tanzania. Now also there's a pictorial of students, secondary students writing their examinations as the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education National Examinations kick off. As police search for man over ex-wife's murder. Then in the other stories in relation to music, pupils' rendition of top Rumba song goes viral. As in the haste, security firm staff make away with retailers 94 million Kenyan shillings. Well, and that is it for the press review and the GMU business update this morning. It is now time for the traffic updates with Olive, Monica, and Ajuma.
Well, you're welcome to the traffic updates this morning. Like you said, my name is Olive Monica Najima. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we understand that there is a lot of road construction going on and that many roads in the country are affected. So if you are moving, especially this morning, there are certain areas I would like for you to pay attention to. Areas like Mukwano Road are now in a terrible state because some of them have been closed off. So if you didn't know, now you know. So maybe you may have to reconsider your route and where you want to pass going forward. Now, of course, also speaking about traffic, there is a notice by the Uganda National Roads Authority, and I would like for us to go through that before we continue with traffic updates. Now, the Uganda National Roads Authority, that is UNRA, says that due to heavy rains and flooding across the national road network, precautionary measures for road users should be taken. The Uganda National Roads Authority would like to notify the public of the safety concerns related to the current heavy rain season. It says, as advised by the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, this is a wet season with heavy rains causing flooding and landslides that continue to damage sections of the road transport system. This compromises the safety of all road users. Road users are urged to plan their journeys and avoid flooded or cut-off sections. Driving or walking through flooded areas is not advisable as it is difficult to determine the depth and strength of water, which can result into loss of property or death. UNRA's technical teams will continue to roll out emergency interventions in the affected areas. However, these interventions are only possible when the water levels have subsided. We appeal to all road users to cooperate with our regional maintenance teams during the challenging times and follow the precautionary measures, the directional and safety signs that may be installed to keep themselves and their property safe at all times. And this notice is signed management by UNRA. Now, you know that during the rainy season, driving in some places, like Yunra said, some flooded places may actually cost you to lose property. The other day, I was seeing some people sharing that they lost number plates during the flood while driving through certain flooded areas. So you need to be vigilant so that you do not go through, you know, the challenges of losing your number plate, and now you have to find ways of getting a new one. But that being said, let's look at the traffic routes this morning. We are going to look at the areas of Mukwano Road and areas of 8th Street coming into town. Now, if you're looking at your screen, you will see that most sections of Mukwano Road have been cut off because of the ongoing road construction. So when you see the green zones on Mukwano Road, it doesn't necessarily mean that there is smooth flow of traffic there. It actually means that the road is not being used. You can only access it when you're about to reach Ginger Road roundabout. Now, looking at Mukwano Road, you can see the red zones over there. There is traffic coming through, and most of this traffic is coming in from Press House Road feeding into Mukwano Road. Actually, at the intersection where Press House Road joins Mukwano Road, there is intense traffic on both sides of the road that is ongoing and incoming. Many people are using that section. Probably they didn't know that the road had been cut off, so there is intense traffic over there. It lets up a bit, but when you reach the intersection that comes from 8th Street, you can see those red zones. And of course, as you continue ahead with Mukwano Road, you can still see that both sections of the road have traffic jam over there. Now, I would like for us to have a look at 8th Street and see how the traffic situation is doing over there. And as you can see, we have red zones there indicative of traffic coming through from 8th Street. But as you move along on 8th Street, you're going to find that traffic flow is kind of coming back to normalcy, though it is still not a green zone. It is still orange, which indicates that, yeah, there is some bit of traffic, but you can be able to move, though at a very slow pace. Continuing still on 8th Street, the whole of it, especially for people that are coming to town, still has traffic, though not intense. Now, looking at feeder roads like Mbogo Road that joins 8th Street, there is a bit of traffic right at the intersection, but the rest of Mbogo Road has smooth flow of traffic. So if that's where you're coming from or where you're headed, you are in luck. Now, going back to Namuwongo Road and Chadondo Rise, there is smooth flow of traffic over here. So if that's where you're headed or that's where you are coming from, you are good to go. Now, let's have a look at 7th Street. Now, looking at 7th Street, you can see those red zones over there and even orange zones indicative of traffic coming to town, but also traffic going the side of 7th Street. The whole of 7th Street doesn't have a green zone, so it looks like, yeah, there is traffic over there this morning. I think because some routes have been cut off around Mukwano Road, many people are using these other alternative routes to access the city. Now, going back to the roundabout, that is the access, the roundabout that joins Mukwano Road to 7th Street to 6th Street and Access Road. There is traffic over there, and actually for people that are coming in or going to 6th Street, you will realize that there is intense traffic on 6th Street itself. It is those deep red zones that make you stay in traffic. You might lose over 30 minutes over there, especially if you're using 6th Street to get to town. But even you that is going the other side of town, going through 6th Street, you will still be held up because I don't see any green zone over there, which indicates that, yeah, in as much as there could be, or if you're going, there isn't intense traffic, you will still be delayed. But if you're coming to town, there are deep red zones over there, and this means you will lose some good time in traffic this morning. The whole of 6th Street has intense traffic jam coming through to the side of town. So if those are the routes you're trying to use, you are advised. Now, looking at Access Road and how it joins Ginger Road, there is smooth flow of traffic over there, and there is traffic coming through from that Airtel Tower roundabout at Ginger Road, and it is actually intense because I see deep red zones over there. So for people coming in from Ginger Road and going to the city center, you are advised. Now, areas like Ginger Road still have intense traffic going on, but then it lets up as you continue ahead on Ginger Road. So if that's where you're headed, that's how the traffic update looks like this morning. Most roads within the city center look green, meaning there is smooth flow of traffic, like at King George, the Fourth Way and Parliamentary Avenue. There is smooth flow of traffic over there. Well, that's it. My name is Olive Monica Najima, and this has been the traffic update for this morning. So if you're moving, it has rained a bit. That could also keep you on the road. Negotiate your routes carefully and, again, drive carefully.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
African Airline Association, in conjunction with Uganda Airlines, presents the 55th AFRA Annual General Assembly between the 19th and 21st November 2023 at Speak Resort Hotel, Munyonyo, in the heart of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. In attendance will be 500 high-profile African and global aviation leaders, 40 airline CEOs making strides to transform aviation for development. The 55th AFRA AGA is proudly powered by
I'm Kisame Andrew, cold chain technician attached to Kalio District Local Government in the health department. The vaccines come when they're in the truck, which is refrigerated from NMS. I receive them, so I load these vaccines. There are some cold boxes I put in those containers, then I take the facilities. Even in the facilities, there are fridges. We are so grateful to the government of Uganda because each and every health center 3 and 4 in Kalio district has a refrigerator. Once they reach there, I offload them. I also put them in the fridges. These facilities have scheduled outreaches whereby they have to go to the community, to the villages, communities, and make sure that they vaccinate. So they also have small containers which are called vaccine carriers, which they put on their back, of course with some ice to maintain the temperature. So that when they mobilize, the community mobilizers, the VHTs, the LOC ones do mobilize the communities in gazetted outreaches which are already gazetted. They come and also workers find the clients there and then they give vaccinate them.
I'm called Ezekiel Vanjikate. We are staying in Visala village, that is in Luka district. This is a commercial agriculture farm purely run on a family basis. We are now concentrating on coffee, and we got that coffee in 2018 from Operation Wealth Creation. NADS gave us the solar water pump, which we are currently using to put up irrigation on the farm and be able to irrigate the coffee, which is sitting on a 30-acre area. What we're able to reap out of the coffee, we're able to sell it off and make an expansion, because with irrigation you can't go wrong but be able to pick all around the whole year, and that's all income that will be coming in. On a special thanks goes to Operation Wealth Creation, to the district local government in Luka district that has also given us the support to supervise all the work that we have been doing. And finally, NADS that gave us the solar water pump.
Morning to you once again. Thank you for joining us. You're still watching Good Morning Uganda on UBC Television. This is The Agenda, and we are here to have, of course, conversations of national importance, and we are always glad that you get to be part of the conversation. So we are calling upon you once again to be part of today's very important conversation. And just in case you didn't know, this very morning, we do have the Deputy IGG in the house, that is Dr. Patricia Achan Okiria, and we're going to be discussing recovery of public embezzled funds. Now, for every question that you have centered around the IGG's office, and especially the recovered embezzled funds, this is your time to have all your questions answered, because it is understood that these bodies actually will give some bit of accountability to the Ugandans, because you have the questions and the answers are actually available. And I'm very excited to have this conversation because it's going to bring a lot of clarity. But before we get into that conversation, there is a conversation that has been making grounds on social media, and this conversation has brought a lot of controversy and cast a lot of stones when it comes to the IG's office. But before that, good morning, Dr. Patricia.
Good morning, Chantal, and good morning, viewers. Thank you for having me here this morning, and I'm happy to be part of this conversation.
Right, we are so glad to always have you, and of course, every time we call upon you, you actually always come through, and we appreciate the fact that the Ugandans are getting the answers that they are looking for usually. So when we get into the conversation, before we talk about the recovered embezzled funds, recently the IGG's office withdrew the bribery charges against former UNBS executive director, and that has brought a lot of contention in the public, on social media, even some parliamentarians. I mean, people like people in the COSASE. Very many people came out to have concerns and express their dissatisfaction with the decision. What would the IGG's office have to say to Ugandans that have been following all the media and all the information that is being put out there?
Well, I was also surprised at how the highest institution like Parliament, COSASE, the entire team was amazed or surprised with that decision, because the laws of evidence are quite clear, and the standard of proof in cases of bribery. For instance, a case of bribery, as provided for in the Anti-Corruption Act, requires that a person commits the offense, and he can be charged or prosecuted if he is able to prove the three. Did he solicit or accept? Did he do it directly or indirectly? Were there any goods or monetary value, evidence of the fact that the bribe was actually paid? So it involves offering, it involves soliciting, it involves receiving. And the standard of proof is really high, and the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Now, the IG being the prosecution saw that we could not go anywhere with that case because we didn't have sufficient evidence. He made a confession on oath and said he actually paid a bribe. And then the following day, before the same committee of COSASE, he retracted the statement, and there was no proof anywhere, no sufficient evidence, and we did not want protracted litigation against government. So we saw that we were not getting anywhere with that case, and it was very brilliant to have that case withdrawn. And for every lawyer out there, they should be able to know about the rules of evidence and the standard of proof in cases of corruption, and especially bribery as provided for in the Anti-Corruption Act, specifically Section 26 and Section 2A of the Anti-Corruption Act. Yes.
Great. Well, having got clarity on the same, I'm hoping that the information that has been making rounds on social media is now getting clearer, and we now know what to take and what not to take as Ugandans. So today's conversation is majorly centered on recovery of public embezzled funds. And the IGG, according to the report, the IGG has really outdone itself, or has really done really well, according to the reports that have been coming through, especially when you look at this year. And maybe before we get into the details, what figures do we have in terms of what we have recovered vis-a-vis what was believed to be embezzled by some members of our country?
Well, in terms of recoveries, I'll start from July, which are the figures I have with me. In July alone, the Inspectorate of Government recovered 383,811,000 shillings. And in August, we recovered 134,670,000 shillings. In September alone, we recovered 455 million. And in October, we recovered 255 million. In terms of asset recovery, that is where we stand. And we have the asset recovery unit. Currently, we have got 15 ongoing high-profile cases before court for execution and for extraction of court orders. And within those cases, I believe we'll recover even more, because there are high-profile cases involving large sums of money. Yes.
Right. And so, having recovered that much, the question would be, when it comes to the IG, what is the mandate on asset recovery?
Well, maybe before I talk about the mandate of the IG in asset recovery, the IG did conduct a study. We conducted a study on the cost of corruption and discovered that we can, as a country, we lose approximately 9.1 trillion annually on corruption. So it was on the basis of that study that we established the fact that we needed to move faster. We needed to come up with new innovative mechanisms to deal with the problem, because 9.1 trillion is approximately 23% of our annual budget. And this included both overt and covert corruption. Now, the empirical data usually is used to inform our initiatives, our anti-corruption initiatives and strategies and programs. And then we discovered that the savings from eliminating corruption and recovery of public funds should be everybody's concern, and these monies can actually be plowed back into the government coffers, because the people out there should be able to hold the potential of improving functions of government by advocating for fight against corruption, by reporting cases against corruption. So we looked at the cost estimate, which basically helps to direct policy attention to areas of addressing corruption, not only on right things to be done, but it also offers the highest saving. So it's against this backdrop that the IG geared its efforts towards asset recovery. We have an asset recovery unit in the IG, and every portion of recovered asset is normally can provide funding for social programs of government. And then the theft of public assets is a development problem, and it's also of a great magnitude, because that is what is happening on the ground today. And the exact value of the public funds lost to illegal activities normally exceed the actual value of the assets stolen by the public officials. And the effect is that it leads to degradation, first of all, degradation of government programs, distrust of public institutions, poor service delivery, weakening of private investment, because even the investors get discouraged to invest in a country where resources are getting stolen away. Then basic health and education programs is all affected. Now, when you bring it back to our mandate as the IG, the IG, we are usually, we are that body, basically the lead anti-corruption agency mandated to foster elimination of corruption in public offices, and we execute this mandate usually through investigations, through prosecution, through administration of sanctions, and also recovery of assets. We have a policy of prevention of corruption and asset recovery, and we do this as deterrent mechanisms, and it is prudent for us to streamline activities of asset recovery, especially within the IG, to carry out our constitutional mandate. Now, like I said, the unit was established specifically within the Directorate of Legal Affairs to enforce recovery of ill-gotten wealth acquired by people corruptly. Now, in setting up this unit, the IG found that there was much to be gained from the approach of law enforcement through prosecution and arrest, but also treated corruption as a profit-making business. So we decided to move and put up this unit specifically to deal with the proceeds of crime from the people who had stolen, and we found it very valuable because now we have people who even fail to explain the sources of their income, and we put them to task to actually pay back what is presumed to having been stolen or acquired illicitly.
And on that very note, according to a report that I see, I could be backdated, I stand to be corrected, it is said that the number of leaders that by then were required to declare their incomes and assets and liabilities were about 32,605. But also it is also said here that the compliance rate of declaration was at 81.4. I don't know if I have my data up to date. I stand to be corrected. Because from there we will need to know what has been done, especially for these leaders that have not even been able to declare.
Well, I supervise the Leadership Code Directorate in the IG, and you have rightly stated that we had a compliance rate of 81%. That means that there are about 29% of leaders who did not actually declare. Now, we look at a case-by-case basis. First of all, after the declaration, we go ahead and do the verifications as well, and we also do check why have the others not declared. So we do write correspondences to the heads of institutions and ask them to explain and give us information, first of all, to confirm that these are leaders working in the different agencies. And then sometimes information comes that so-and-so died, so-and-so retired, and so sometimes they fall within. So we do a data cleaning approach as well. But when we find those leaders who did not declare, we put them to task to explain why they did not declare, and then we prepare the files for submission to the Leadership Code Tribunal. But there are instances where you find somebody genuinely failed to declare because he was probably bedridden, he had circumstances which made him fail to declare. Then they had to reach areas which actually did not have access to internet. So you realize that we had to send teams to places to help people in those hard-to-reach areas to be able to declare as well. But generally, the response has been very good. Well, at very good. We have sent some cases to the Leadership Code Tribunal, and we expect that, well, leaders will learn lessons, because the Leadership Code Act sets up a standard of behavior for all leaders and requires that they all have to declare, because they have to maintain the trust of the public, and they have to know that they hold those positions on behalf of the people. So they have to be accountable to the people. Yes.
On that very note, briefly, I saw something when it came to still the part of declaration. This year's declaration was meant for leaders and not public officers, and maybe it would be nice to also understand, because I got it actually off the website of the IGG. So we would like to know what that entails, who is excluded and who is included.
Well, within the Leadership Code Act, we have got the classified leaders who are supposed to declare, specifically provided for in Schedule 3 of the Act, and that includes the heads of institutions, that includes the chief administrative officers, all accounting officers, heads of departments and units, that includes the ministers, that includes, you know, it's all provided for, the heads of the institutions, like I did mention. The public officials declare after every 5 years, and their declaration period will commence in April of 2025. Yes, but this was specifically for leaders. There was March. Theirs was March 1st to 30th of 2023. Yes.
And they're meant to be declaring
every 2 years. After 2 years. For the public officials, after every 5 years. Yes.
All right. So when we get back to the issue of asset recovery, the question I would have right now would be, what means are being employed or used by the IGG or the IG to make sure that asset recovery is done?
Well, we within the asset recovery unit, we have got, we do enforce court orders for the recovery of property based on convictions, on taxed court matters, and we also enforce recovery of property from the IG orders, and then we also have the negotiated settlements. The asset recovery unit also does handle mutual legal assistance requests from other countries. You know, we have the bilateral arrangement with other countries to support each other in corruption-related cases. We also do handle legal advisory, and also the unit represents the IG in the National Task Force for the anti-money laundering and also combating financing of terrorism and prosecution of cases within the Leadership Code Act. Now, how does the unit handle this? The unit basically does conduct asset recovery through tracing, through freezing, through securing and managing of confiscated assets, and also recovering, returning government property. Now, when you look at the nature of recovery, again, it is like that the asset recovery unit looks at what we have, the evidence we have. There are people who fail to explain how they have acquired certain things, and then we do bank inspections. You find that you're able to trace and see how money has moved from where to whose account and where it has been put. So we do enforce the recovery of property in conviction-based and taxed matters by court, and then we also recover from the IG orders, and then we have voluntary refunds by suspects and persons of interest. Then we do have mutual legal assistance. We also recover through mutual legal assistance. Now, we have common types of recoveries, and this includes money, financial instruments like bonds and securities. Then we have real property like land. We have movable property like vehicles, boats or aeroplanes. We have businesses. Some people do have farms established with livestock and so on. Then we have precious metals and jewels like gold, diamond, and so on, and perishables, and also we have assets. Normally people invest in foreign jurisdictions, and we rely on information, sources of information we use. We have financial profiling. Sometimes we get information from URA, and then our online declaration system, and then investigators, people who are handling the case officers normally bring information to us, and we look at the criminal complaints, and we also look at reports, for instance, from the Auditor General, and some companies are subject to audits, and we also rely heavily on whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are people of goodwill who just come and report cases and put it to our attention.
Which of these has given the most most cases?
It's whistleblowers, actually, whistleblowers, but mainly sometimes we take on things at our own initiative, like the case you began with of the UNBS. We had taken that at our own initiative, and we thought it was a really good case to pursue, only to hit a dead end. But we have also modes of securing the property.
Oh, yes.
Once tainted property is identified, it must be secured to avoid destruction. Some people are quick to rush to destroy, some people are quick to rush to hide, some people are quick to rush to do something about the property. So once the tainted property is identified, we must have it secured so that we have control of that property. And then in order for restraint or seizure to be granted by court, we have special powers within the IG, and we get these special powers from Section 14 of the IG Act. We can order for search and seizure of the property under Section 13 of the IG Act. Then we also issue restraining orders basically to avoid disposition of the property. And then we also issue assessment orders under Section 63(1). And this assessment orders is basically to obtain, specifically to obtain the value of the property. And then we also have the confiscation order. But we return all these funds to the asset recovery unit of the IG, and this money goes back to the consolidated fund. So
that was going to be my next question.
Yes.
What happens after asset recovery? Because Uganda would be like, okay, this amount of money was recovered. Where did it go? What was it used for? And that's the part that Ugandans usually have questions about.
Yes, usually this money goes back to the asset recovery fund of the IG and is plowed back to the consolidated fund for government to reallocate and put to good use. Yes, so we basically have the records of how much it is we have recovered over a period of time, but the money is basically plowed back to government so that they can reallocate it and put it to good use. Yes.
Okay, I understand that there is always consequences for the person who is caught in such controversial situations, and so for example the person from whom the assets have been recovered. So the question would be, what happens to this person, and if there is different punishments to these people, how do we categorize these punishments as well, or these consequences?
Usually we handle this on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the gravity of the offense, the amount of money involved. But once this person admits guilt, basically the Anti-Corruption Act is quite clear. For someone who has committed an offense of corruption and is convicted, that person should not hold a public office for 10 years.
For 10 years.
But sometimes they are quick to admit before we even proceed to have the person take a plea or with a prosecution case. So we then agree that, well, because of the amount of money involved, you're not fit to stay in that public office. So the person either retires or steps down from his job, but pays back the money he has lost. And sometimes the loss is due to negligence. He probably has not even stolen. It is just negligence on his part, and he has caused the loss. But we treat this on a case-by-case basis, depending on the gravity of the case, really. Sometimes we pardon the person, and the person can go back and occupy his position, depending on the gravity of the case. But there are cases that are really high profile, where the person has stolen a lot and the law requires that this person basically leaves the public office, because if you let him go back, then he will go back and steal more and come back to pay. So we have to balance our decisions, basically looking at the gravity of the offense and the circumstances surrounding each case. Yes.
So a case in point where, for example, the charges are dropped on, for example, Executive Director Ibiru David Livingstone, what happens to him after that? Already he's in a controversial state, and there is not sufficient evidence to put him to book. So what happens? Does he return to office, or does he also take a break? some of those examples would be ideal to give us a clearer
While
picture.
investigations are going on, the law requires that someone steps aside to pave way for investigations. When nothing is found against such a person, it is prudent that the person takes back his office.
Right.
Yes, but there are several cases about concerning UNBS, which is under our investigations at the moment in the IG, and we are not quick to make such decisions that he takes back his position unless it has been proved that there is nothing concerning him or involving him in those cases. Yes.
Okay. There's usually a conversation, and we've had also this conversation with my colleagues on the show, the conversation about someone's net worth and holding public office, the relationship. And this was also rooted from the thought that, from even the conversation that youth are not getting public offices because there is a lot of politics in there. But what I'm trying to drive at right now is, what is the relationship between someone's net worth and them holding a public office? Do they entirely have to have a certain level of, say, money for them to be able to hold a public office? Because at the end of the day, it determines how they conduct themselves in there. Someone who has less is likely to want to scoop what they can scoop.
Well, Chantal, I think, I don't have a ready answer for that concerning net worth, because someone holds an office by virtue of his competencies and skills and ability to serve in that position. But taking on to net worth, I think it's important, basically in the process of doing background checks, to ensure that this leader has got a certain net worth, and then this leader is somebody of integrity and highly proven moral character. Because when you just pick somebody, he will come with all the greed, and even if he doesn't have anything for his net worth, really, does he have ability to perform?
Right.
Is he a person of integrity? Because someone of integrity will not look at the office as an opportunity to steal, but he will look at an office as an opportunity to serve, because we as leaders are supposed to be serving. The whole issue of net worth, I think it's important to do the background checks and see how this person has led his life, and do a bit of the lifestyle. How has this person led his life as he has been rising and rising in different positions, in different ladders? But the net worth aspect, I think, would be very, very important, because I've seen in Kenya when they were establishing the cabinet, each cabinet minister had to declare the net worth. And that is the spirit behind the declaration of assets,
yes.
of incomes and liabilities, so that the people you are leading can build a level of trust on you. Because if the trust is lacking, then the people will not be submissive to you. People will not be listening to you. People will not be following you, because they know that they're following someone who is not trusted at all.
Right. And what would you say would be some of the similarities, if they are there anyway, when you check the different cases that have led to asset recovery, for example? What has been that common factor that has been in there? For example, when you do like a background check, do all of them have, say, financial issues that lead to them taking these assets? What could be the major reason as to why people actually go ahead and consume public assets?
This whole thing about corruption and acquiring property or public assets illicitly, I think requires a different approach altogether, because from the trends I see, the people who are really, really rich are the people who are really, really corrupt. So you can't say that poverty is one of the driving factors of corruption. It is greed, it is somebody's character, it is selfishness.
Right.
It is having that bad attitude and wanting to rip off people of what does not belong to you, and take it for yourself. So for me, I think we need a special drive, specific drive towards mindset change, and call upon Ugandans really to think positively about their country, to promote values and principles and norms that really would build this country and take it a step higher than putting people who are inefficient, ineffective and corrupt in places of responsibility. So for me, looking at that trend from the cases we're doing, it's about degeneration of morals, degeneration of ethics and values, which we need to rebuild and reconstruct in order to make this country a better place. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. Now, to you, our dearest viewer, you can be part of the conversation. And the number to send us your message is 0709 6029 592. Pardon me, 0709 6025 592. You get to have the conversation with us, get to ask any questions that you would be having, especially on the part of asset recovery. We've already talked about what has been recovered. We've already talked about what happens in how the assets are recovered, what happens to the assets after recovery, what happens to the person that is found guilty or is found in the mix-up of this asset recovery, and we are still having this conversation. I do have some comments coming through, and I'm going to be excused because I may not be able to read some of them for purposes of us keeping some peace in here. Someone says, good morning, the office of the IGG is very dormant, seems to be underfunded, and of course the creation of parallel anti-corruption bodies has totally put the office on mute mode. The worst is some staff in IGG office are easily compromised. Charles from Sorority City. I think I'm going to leave this to Dr. Patricia to talk about the part where Charles from Sorority seems to think that the office is underfunded, and the creation of other anti-corruption bodies as well seems to be a challenge to him, a challenge to the IG. And what would be your take on the same?
Well, I first of all want to thank him for bringing in that observation. But just to allay his fears, we work with, we believe in complementarity of work. That's why you see the whole interagency forum comprising of the Inspectorate of Government, Office of the Auditor General, PPDA, and other agencies, Financial Intelligence Authority, Criminal Investigation Department of the Police, State House Anti-Corruption Unit, State House Investors Protectorate Unit, State House Health Monitoring Unit, and so on. We believe in complementarity because the fight against corruption cannot only be won by the Inspectorate of Government. We are the lead anti-corruption agency, but you realize that we actually network and we have partnership and strategic alliances with the other agencies in an organization called the Interagency Forum, where we get together, discuss these cases. We actually have a legal task force where we do prosecution-led investigations. We even do joint investigations, sometimes with State House Anti-Corruption Unit on some of these cases. We even involve CMI sometimes, an internal intelligence authority organization also in our work. So we believe in complementarity of work, and just to avoid duplicity of work also and resources, we rely heavily on the support of each other. So the Inspectorate of Government is quite independent, an institution established within the Constitution, but we believe in complementarity of work because the fight against corruption cannot be won by just one institution. That's why we are saying everybody, all citizens, should own the war against corruption, because at the end of the day, the citizen out there is the actual victim of corruption. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Patricia. Now, this is Amukaga from Banda says, thank you very much, and thank you for the show as well. Then I didn't get a name. I think this is Jimmy Okwera. Says, thank you so much for hosting Dr. Achan Patricia from the Inspectorate, from the Inspector of Government in your studio this morning. The problem is that the office, in the office, there are some characters who are more worse than the corrupt themselves. They have blown covers of many whistleblowers in cases where culprits have corrupted much money or any asset that would not have gone to their hands as they want to share the same. I think pretty much what he's trying to talk about is blowing covers of whistleblowers, and maybe that would be a part that we would have to talk about briefly as we are getting to the conclusion of the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Whistleblower protection. We have got the Whistleblower Protection Act of 2009 and its regulations, and this law basically protects whistleblowers who report cases of corruption to the Inspectorate of Government and other agencies. But like rightly the person has said, there are people who are within the Inspectorate who are blowing the covers. If you know them, we rely a lot on you out there. Please report to us, because we believe that in every basket of apples there could be a few rotten ones, and you would be helping us actually to weed them out. As the Inspectorate of Government, we have disciplinary action we can take. Like recently, there are staff we dismissed from the Inspectorate of Government because of such allegations. We investigate them and we can put them aside as well and get good ones to replace them. You have recently seen we have advertised, we are recruiting inspectorate officers, managers, supervisors, directors, because we want people of highly proven moral character to come and beef up our work. We need new blood in the system. So if you know of any member of staff who is committing those anomalies, please report to us, because you will have contributed positively in helping us clean our own house. Thank you very much.
All right. Someone here is asking that, please, doctor, tell us about some of the high-profile persons that have ever been caught guilty and they went ahead and lost their offices. Then lastly, the other question would be, when someone destroys, for example, the assets, what happens after that?
Well, I will start with the last one. Mismanagement or destruction of public assets is an offense within the Leadership Code Act as well, and also within the Anti-Corruption Act, and it is punishable. So the penalty is for the person actually to pay back and make good what loss he has made, or the person can be surcharged. If it is a vehicle and you've gone and brushed it around and destroyed it, you can be surcharged, you can be demoted, you can be dismissed for being irresponsible. Well, about the assets, the people, amount of money I have already mentioned, but the IGG investigated and completed 18 high-profile cases, and as a result of the investigations, we have so far recovered approximately 14.6 billion, and from the recommendations for recovery, we have recovered that amount as the IG, and this is the value, in terms of the value of property also recovered. We have situations where people have failed to account for how they acquired, even apartments, and they say, please, take this. So at the moment, we have apartments, we have properties we are struggling to maintain, and we'll soon be putting them out for disposal as the IG, because we cannot be landlords and then we're investigating cases here.
Yes.
So we are going to have them disposed. We have had a total of 134 other corruption cases concluded, and 24 persons were recommended for prosecution for various offenses. We have conducted about 47 cases at the Anti-Corruption Court out of 55 cases, giving a conviction rate of 85%. Somebody wants to know who are the high-profile cases, persons who have been asked to leave their positions. I think the details of those are in our annual reports and can be even traced in the website. But if I can remember, you may remember the principal of Kichwamba Technical College, who was asked to retire in public interest because of mismanagement of the institution, and others. But it is very important that the public out there really joins us in the war against corruption, because it's from the cases you report that we take up, we investigate, and take for prosecution. Yes.
Right, thank you so much. Lastly, thanks for the program. The biggest root cause of the corruption vice is that corruption is being used as a political tool to win people's support and approval. The politicians should set an example and desist from the vice if we are to see a breakthrough in the fight. This is Joel Awenu from Soroti. And well, unfortunately, our time seems to be fast spent. I may not be in position to read more of your comments that are coming in, but please do get to be with us. Still tomorrow we'll be having other conversations, and we look forward to hearing from you. Dr. Patricia, what would be your parting shots?
My parting shots is to call upon all Ugandans. This Uganda is our Uganda. We need to join hands and improve service delivery. We need to contribute towards national development. And this cannot happen if we don't kick out corruption. Let's own the war against corruption. Let's be bold and courageous and report cases of corruption. Let us shun hate and avoid corruption so that we can have zero tolerance of corruption in all our institutions, departments, agencies. And we will together improve systems in our country. Thank you very much, and may God bless you for God and my country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia, for being a part of today's conversation and for giving us answers to the number of questions that very many Ugandans have been having. Lastly, someone says the IG should begin from their offices. I think Dr. Patricia has handled this. She has mentioned, if you know anyone, please do report, because they are cleaning house and there is already a recruitment process that is taking place, because some people were removed from offices because of misconduct in the IG's office. So what does that mean? Work is being done, the house is being cleaned. Thank you so much, Dennis Wamani from Hoima, for that comment. We really do appreciate. For now, let's get into a very short break. When we come back, it's going to be Ruben Mpima with the sports updates.